Alright folks, buckle up because we're about to embark on a wild ride through the hilarious history of the Far Cry series. It's like a tropical vacation but with more explosions and fewer fancy cocktails. Unless you count Molotov cocktails, of course. Ba-dum tis, Far Cry is that crazy uncle of the gaming world. You know, the one who shows up to family reunions with a new exotic pet, and stories that make you question his sanity. But hey, that's what makes him fun. Since 2004, this series has been taking us on globe-trotting adventures filled with more chaos than my attempts at cooking Thanksgiving dinner. From lush tropical islands to the frigid Himalayas, Far Cry has never met a location it couldn't turn into a war zone. So grab your favorite weapon, mine's a rubber chicken, and let's dive into this madcap journey through Far Cry's history. Picture this, it's 2004, flip phones are all the rage and game graphics are Enter Far Cry, the game that said, hey, what if we made a tropical island, but instead of relaxation, we filled it with angry mercenaries and mutants? Because nothing says vacation like genetically modified killing machines, am I right?
Our hero, Jack Carver, is just your average boat-renting, Hawaiian shirt-wearing dude who gets caught up in a sci-fi nightmare. It's like Jurassic Park meets Rambo, but with 100% more explosions and 100% less Jeff Goldblum.
The game introduced us to the Far Cry staples open-world gameplay. Vehicles you can hijack faster than you can say Grand Theft Auto, and enemies with the observational skills of a legally blind mole rat. But let's talk about those graphics for a second. In 2004, Far Cry's visuals were so good, they made other games look like they were rendered on a potato. People's jaws dropped so hard, dentists reported a surge in TMJ cases. The lush jungle, the sparkling water, the way Jack's arms stretched like Mr. Fantastic when he climbed ladders. It was all revolutionary.
And who could forget the enemies? These guys had the uncanny ability to spot you from a mile away through dense foliage, probably while blindfolded. It was like playing hide and seek with Superman. Far Cry set the stage for a series that would continue to redefine vacation gone wrong for years to come.
Fast forward to 2008. Far Cry 2 bursts onto the scene, trading in tropical beaches for the sun-scorched savannas of Africa. It's like the developers spun a globe, closed their eyes and said, yep, that's where we're causing chaos next. This time, instead of mutants, we got malaria, because nothing spices up a first-person shooter like periodic bouts of fever and nausea.
Our nameless protagonist, seriously, did they run out of name ideas, is dropped into a fictional African nation torn apart by civil war. It's like a really intense episode of Survivor, but instead of voting people off the island, you're just trying not to get shot.
The game introduced the buddy system where AI companions could save your bacon if you got into trouble. It's like having a really aggressive gun-toting guardian angel. But let's talk about the real star of Far Cry 2, the fire. Oh boy, the fire. This game treated fire like it was the coolest thing since sliced bread. You could start a small blaze and watch it spread across the savannah faster than gossip in a small town. Many a player found themselves accidentally burning down half the map while giggling maniacally.
And who could forget the weapons? Far Cry 2 introduced the concept of degrading weapons, where your guns would jam or even explode if you didn't maintain them. Nothing says immersive gameplay like having your assault rifle turn into a very dangerous paperweight in the middle of a firefight.
Ah, Far Cry 3, the game that made island vacations seem about as appealing as a root canal performed by a drunken monkey. Released in 2012, this installment took us back to a tropical paradise. But instead of sipping pina coladas and working on our tan, we're trying not to get murdered by pirates. Talk about all-inclusive.
Enter Jason Brody, a trust fund kid who goes from can't even to one-man army faster than you can say character development. It's like if Paris Hilton suddenly turned into Rambo. But the real star of the show, Vas Montenegro, the pirate leader with a mohawk sharp enough to cut glass and a personality more unstable than a Jenga tower in an earthquake. Vas gave us the now infamous definition of insanity speech, which has been quoted more times than Shakespeare in a high school English class. But let's not forget the other innovations Far Cry 3 brought us. Like the tower climbing mechanic, where Jason apparently has the upper body strength of an Olympic gymnast and the balance of a tightrope walker. Or the wildlife, which seemed to have a personal vendetta against you. Seriously, you couldn't take 2 steps without a tiger trying to turn you into an all-you-can-eat buffet or a cassowary, Satan's own bird, deciding you'd make a nice pincushion. Far Cry 3 truly redefined what it means to have a vacation gone horribly, horribly wrong.
In 2014, Far Cry 4 said, hey, what if we took everything people loved about Far Cry 3, cranked it up to 11, and set it in the Himalayas? The result? A game that's part the sound of music, part Rambo, and all insanity.
Welcome to Kyrat, where the air is thin, the slopes are steep, and the local wildlife considers you a walking snack.
Our protagonist this time is AJ Gale, who's just trying to scatter his mother's ashes but ends up overthrowing a dictatorship instead. Talk about an overachiever. It's like going to the store for milk and coming back with a giraffe.
The big bad this time is Pagan Min, a flamboyant dictator who's equal parts charming and psychotic. Imagine if Liberace and Hannibal Lecter had a love child and you're halfway there.
But the real star of Far Cry 4? The elephants. That's right, you can ride elephants into battle. It's like having a tank, but with more wrinkles and a tendency to eat peanuts. Nothing says I'm here to liberate this outpost like charging in on a 5-ton pachyderm.
And let's not forget the other only in Far Cry moments, like using a wingsuit to soar over the Himalayas, because apparently vertigo isn't a thing in this universe. Or the Shangri-La missions, where you team up with a ghostly tiger to fight demons. Because in Far Cry, the crazier the idea, the better the game.
Section 6. Far Cry Primal Caveman Shenanigans. In 2016, Far Cry decided to take a page from the Flintstones and go prehistoric with Far Cry Primal. It's like someone at Ubisoft said, you know what this series needs? Less guns, more angry mammoths.
And thus, we were transported back to 10,000 BCE, a time when the biggest threat wasn't nuclear war, but whether that saber-toothed tiger thought you looked tasty. Meet Takar, our caveman protagonist who's basically a prehistoric MacGyver. Need a weapon? Slap some rocks together. Need transportation? Tame a bear. It's like a very violent episode of primitive technology on YouTube.
The game swapped out the usual Far Cry arsenal for spears, clubs, and bows, because nothing says progress like hitting your enemies with a stick. But the real game changer in Primal was the ability to tame and command animals. It's like Pokemon, if Pikachu was a dire wolf, and the goal was to maul your enemies instead of battling for gym badges.
You could send your owl to scout ahead, your saber-tooth to maul enemies, or your mammoth to, well, mammoth things. It's the closest we'll ever get to being a prehistoric Disney princess. Far Cry Primal featured a fully reconstructed prehistoric language. That's right, linguists actually created a language for this game.
Section 7, Far Cry 5, cult classic or just cultish? 2018 rolled around, and Far Cry 5 decided it was time to bring the chaos a little closer to home. Welcome to Hope County, Montana, where the hills are alive with the sound of doomsday cult music.
It's like if the Amish decided to weaponize and take over a state. Yeehaw and praise the Lord. Our silent protagonist, because who needs personality when you have guns, is a rookie deputy sent to arrest Joseph Seed, the charismatic leader of the Eden's Gate cult. Spoiler alert, it doesn't go well. It's like trying to arrest a mosquito at a blood bank, messy and ultimately futile.
Joseph, along with his siblings, form the Seed family, a dysfunctional bunch that makes the Mansons look like the Brady Bunch. Far Cry 5 introduced some interesting gameplay elements, like the ability to recruit guns for hire, including a diabetic grizzly bear named Cheeseburger. Because nothing says America like a bear with a weight problem.
You could also hire Boomer, a good boy who can sniff out enemies and steal their weapons. It's like if Lassie joined the NRA. The game even features a side mission where you have to retrieve the male essence of prize bulls.
Section 8, Far Cry New Dawn, post-apocalyptic pink paradise. Just when you thought Far Cry couldn't get any wilder, along comes New Dawn in 2019, proving that the apocalypse can be fabulous if you just add enough pink spray paint. Set 17 years after the good ending of Far Cry 5, spoiler, it wasn't that good, New Dawn asks the important question, what if Mad Max wore neon and listened to EDM?
Welcome back to Hope County. Now, with 100% more nuclear fallout and surprisingly lush vegetation. Apparently the apocalypse is great for plant growth. Who knew?
Our protagonists this time are the security captain, again with the silent treatment, and a host of colorful characters who seem surprisingly chipper for people living in a world where society collapsed less than 2 decades ago. The villains? The Highwaymen, led by twin sisters Mickey and Lou. They're like if the Olsen twins decided to become post-apocalyptic warlords instead of fashion designers.
They've turned Hope County into their personal playground. And by playground, I mean violent hellscape with a cotton candy color palette. New Dawn introduced RPG elements because apparently surviving the apocalypse wasn't challenging enough. Now you have to grind for better gear like it's World of Warcraft with guns.
Section 9, Far Cry 6, Giancarlo Esposito's island getaway. In 2021, Far Cry 6 decided to answer the question, what if we made Scarface, but with more chickens? Welcome to Yara, a fictional Caribbean island that's totally not Cuba, wink wink, ruled by El Presidente Anton Castillo, played by the incomparable Giancarlo Esposito. Because nothing says tropical paradise like a ruthless dictator with a voice that could melt butter.
Our hero this time is Danny Rojas, who can be male or female because it's 2021, and we're all about choices. Danny goes from refugee to revolutionary faster than you can say Viva la Revolucion.